Hey everybody, it's Mary at Yard Art R Us. I hope you guys are doing well today. I am doing okay. I'm going to do some painting. I'm going to show you how to paint the snowman. Okay? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt, I think I can do this, y'all. I think I can. I'm going to attempt to do all three of these pieces in one video. And so that means I'm going to have to do a little bit of what I call shucking and jiving. So first thing is I have base coated all of three pieces. Hey, how are you? I see somebody's on with me. Debbie, if that's you, would you mind sharing the template and the blank? If it's not you, then don't worry about it. I base coated all three pieces. This is a three-piece set, JOY. Base coated all three pieces with 2 coats of white. After the 2 coats of white, hey Letitia, how are you? I'm glad you're here. After 2 coats of white, I then put on red, which is number 20, yellow, which is number 13, green here, Christmas green, which is our number 11, of course, and then our primer orange. Actually, I didn't do this. I didn't base coat this. My sister Paula base coated it for me because she felt sorry for me. So she knows I only had 20 million things going on. Because this has been sitting around for a while, and I want to make sure my paint doesn't separate, I'm going to squirt this down with some Windex and clean it up really quick. And then I'm going to show you how to do some shading on this guy. Y'all let me know how you're doing this morning. What are y'all doing? Are y'all painting? Are you at work with the speaker down very low? With the audio off? So one of the persons one day said, oh, I'm at work with the audio off. Hey, whatever works. Okay, so I just Windexed my piece, and I'm going to, looking at this, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just doing the shading on this with the smallest piece right here. So I'm going to take some shading orange with a number 12 brush. I really wish I was having a smaller brush, but I don't think I do. Okay. Letitia says, I'm doing great working from home. Awesome. That's kind of nice if you get to work from home. There's some downsides to it, but I think the good outweighs the bad. That's kind of how I feel. So I've got my orange and I've got my little flat tip brush, and I'm fixing to go to town on the little nose here. Just do a little bit of a stroke there. So I'm going to set this down right here. This is going to be kind of interesting because I'm going to have stuff everywhere. Lippe says, Mary, when is the welcome door hanger kit be for sale? Well, are you meaning the interchangeable door hanger kit? Lippe, tell me if that's what you mean, because I think that's what you're talking about. If that's the case, I'm not sure. And the reason for that, Lippe, is we have a laser that cuts that stuff, and the laser is much smaller. Okay, she said yes. The laser is much smaller than our CNC, so it takes a lot more time to cut those smaller pieces on the laser that we have. Now, if we had a more expensive laser, then, you know, it would go faster, but we don't happen to have a really big laser. We have a small one. And because of that, it takes so long to cut. If we can get caught up where we actually have enough blanks for the parties that we have, then we can cut some blanks to sell you guys. But the parties that we have to cut those blanks first. And it just takes a lot of time and work to get all that cutting done. And that's why we haven't had them for sale at this point. It's just a matter of trying to get enough hours in the day for that machine to run to do it, if that makes any sense. So I'm just outlining some of the green thing right here, and I'll put a few strokes here, come back and just maybe do a brush stroke. And in just that little bit of time, I have the green done. Now I'm going to do the yellow. So I've got my shading yellow, and I've got my brush. This is a ½ inch. The bigger the area you're going to shade, the bigger the brush you want to use. That's kind of how I do it. So, but this is a really cute set, and it's 3 pieces, and it's one of those that it's a very classic piece. Never going to go out of style. Tell me how you guys are doing. Letitia says, yes, I have to force myself to get out. You know, just the other day, Letitia, I told Bruce, I don't remember what day it was. I said, whatever we're going to do, it was early in the morning, I said, we're going to get out of this house. Well, we've been having a lot of rain. So working from home and having a lot of rain, you feel like you're just kind of cooped up. And for the most part, I don't really want to go too many places. But sometimes you do want to go somewhere other than just stay at home and look at the walls. So I totally get that. All right, so the only thing I have left to shade on this guy, other than a lot of the white, is the red. So let me find my shading red, and let's see. I think what I'm going to use, try to decide here, y'all. I'll use this one. I'm going to use a smaller one up here. So I'm going to dip that paint in there. I'm just going to kind of come over here on the outside where that CNC line is and just outline the bow. That's all I'm going to do. And you'll see that shading red. Y'all probably have heard me say this a lot, but if you don't have shading red, just get some red and mix it with some black. That's all shading red is, a mixture of red and black. And this, our shading red, I usually always hand mix. Because I try to go to the store and get them to mix it, and it turns purple. So, here we go. There we go. Awesome. We're going to come down here, and I'm just going to put a line around the inside of the O. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. For some reason, StreamYard is not letting me do the link, so if you could do the link. Let's see, she did that one to blank, thank you, and to the template as well. This is one of those that we have the template at the store, or actually on our online store. So if you're interested in that, then you guys can do that. If you happen to be curious or you want to watch how to put Christmas lights in something, maybe you already have yard art at home, or maybe you're just curious about how to put lights in, I will be on Tamara Bennett's page, Southern Adornments, on Tuesday, and I will be doing a class on how to put Christmas lights in anything. Well, yard art. Y'all know that's what I do, is yard art. So I'm going to take one of her templates and cut it out, and I'm going to show you how. The template will probably, honestly, it'll probably already be painted, but I'll show you how to put lights in it. Just kind of what I call old school style. Now, y'all know that our CNC puts the holes for lights on all of our yard art, but long before we had a CNC, y'all, we had to do it with a Forstner bit and a drill bit and a drill. So I'll be on Tamara Bennett's page on Tuesday, I believe at 2 o'clock. So join me there if you happen, and I think it's called Southern Adornments on Facebook. Adorn, ADOORE, I think, y'all. Adornments. Actually, I'm going to be operating the camera for me, and I'll be in front of the camera doing a tutorial. Okay, so I've got my shading blue. Now, if you think this blue is too dark, you can always use the light blue. But y'all know me, I always go for bright and colorful. And I want this shading, or beard blue, I call it shading blue. It's actually beard blue. But I have to put a little bit of water in here. Put some water in there. Okay. I had to put a little bit of water in my brush. And then I'll come around and just do something like that. And I'd probably do this and that. Now, I deliberately leave the face alone. I don't shade the face because I just feel like that's the focal point. I don't want to muck it up. I don't want to make it, I want that whole face to be easily seen is what I'm trying to say. Well, excuse me, what I'll do is I'll come up here. We actually have a little bobo right there. I want to put some white paint there. That's all right. We will make it work, y'all. All right, so I've got most all of that done. All of my shading on this piece is done. Because I know I have a bobo, I'm going to fix this right quick, and we're going to move on to the next piece right next to me out of camera view, but I'll pull it under the camera where y'all can see it. I got to put some paint there. There we go. I'll fix that later. So I'm going to set this aside. And I'm going to go over this way. Again, because it's been a while, this has been sitting out for a few days. If If you didn't see it at the very beginning, I'm indexing this to get all the dust off of it. If you don't index, sometimes when you start shading the colors on top of this, that paint will separate on you. You don't want that. So, here we go. Okay. Again, I'll just go do the same order that I did previously. I'll do the orange right here on the nose. This is a primer orange as your base coat and shading orange on the carrot here. That's what that is. Okay. Put a little water in that brush because it's getting dry. Then let's do the green. Just bring in some in here. I'll just kind of do something like that. I'm going to hold this up to the camera here in just a bit so you can see the imperfections in my strokes. Because I think a lot of times y'all think that the strokes are perfect and they're way not perfect. Way not. So I'll hold this up here a little bit so y'all can see those imperfections and know that I don't worry about that. All right, that's all green got on that one. I'll do yellow. Morning, Emma. How are you? I'm glad you're here. During July, we do a lot of lives. You won't see us as much in September and October and November. You'll see us. We'll be doing some stuff, but not right now. Because we're already, thick into it in terms of Christmas. We will stop here a little while and do some fall. But you're seeing a lot of this in July, but that will slow down as far as the number of lives. And just, I don't know if everybody knows this, but you just take for granted that everybody knows everything you're doing, but that's really not the case. But on our videos, unless they're done in the academy, those videos stay private, but all the other videos, we put in YouTube. So if you're lost and you can't find something that we've done, then just go to YouTube and look at the thumbnail. The thumbnail is just the photo that I upload right there on the video. And we also upload the video onto yardartofus.com on the product page, so wherever you bought the blank from. Once the live is complete, we upload the live to yardartofus.com. So you can find these videos on Facebook if you want to scroll. Now, obviously, the other thing you could do is go to Facebook and just go to media, or click media or photos, and then you wouldn't have to scroll through the whole feed, news feed. So there's 3 places for YouTube, Facebook, and yardartofus.com where you bought the blank. We load the video into the blank that you bought, and if we have a template, we load it into the template. The template also goes into the video. Or the video also goes into the template listing. Put a little more water in this brush because it's kind of drying out. Okay, so I'm done with shading blue. I'm going to do something like this. I put too much water in there, y'all. That's okay, it'll dry. And that's probably all I'm going to do for, I'm not going to come here and put a stroke here. That's too much. Get some water out of that brush. All right. That's going to dry, and then I'll come back and work on it, make it look a little better. I'm going to come over here and do something like that. And then I'll come over here. You got to give them an arm. You got to have arms. Something like that. I'll probably come up. No, I don't want to do that. I'll do this part right here. And give them a little bit of a stomach or a belly. Big time echo on your voice. Thank you for telling me that. Let me see. Let's go. Try that. Hopefully that worked, y'all. Thank you for letting me know that. I'm so sorry. I think it's because I didn't have the mic muted. Is that better, y'all? Y'all can let me know. Cheryl told me, so thank you, Cheryl, for that. I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to just do some brush stroking, and I'm just going on the shape down here. And notice, I'll pull this up here so you can see. I want you to see my brush strokes and how they are not perfect. They're pretty imperfect. Look at that nose. Now, look at what I have here. That happened because I had too much water in my brush. I'm going to let that dry, and I'll come back and put some white paint over that little pink part that you see. Well, that'll kind of give you an idea of what my brush strokes look like. Thanks, Ava. Oh, Debbie says much better. Thank y'all. Yeah, all right. Y'all don't be afraid to tell me if something is not right. I'm over here just thinking everything's groovy doovy. All right. So I'm going to, once again, these 3 pieces have been sitting around, and I'm going to Windex. Okay? And just getting the dust off of there. And honestly, over here in Texas, this part of the world, there's a lot of pollen on things this time of year. I'm going to get that off. Yes. Okay. And just like I did before, I'm going to pick up. So when you're doing this, you might do the same thing that I'm doing. You might just have your 5 brushes out and do all 3 pieces back to back. And that way, if you have the time, you know. Now, I know I'm done with the orange, so I'm going to put this in the water, and I'm going to put a lid on this because I don't need any more shading orange color. So I'll put that there. The next thing I'm going to do is the green. Just have a little bit of green on this one, y'all. There we go. Get down this way. It's a little better on the camera angle. And I'm going to come up something like this. And then I'd probably come into the hat like that. Since my green is done, I'm going to put this in the water. And I'm going to put the lid on this and put it aside. And now I'm going to do my yellow. If you happen to have red and yellow close together, I recommend that you always shade. If you have a choice, shade your yellow first. Because if you shade yellow first and then you do the red, if you happen to get one color in the other, it's going to be a lot more forgiving if you have the yellow and the red versus if you have the red and the yellow. Because yellow is very transparent. Any paint that you pick up in this yellow that you don't want is going to be very apparent. That's why I usually do, if yellow and red are close together, I usually do yellow first as far as shading goes. And here we go. Almost done, y'all, with this yellow. Let's go back and fix this a little bit more right there. Okay. And if you don't like a shading stroke, just go back right on top of it. I've done that many times. I'm going to put this in the water, put a lid on this because I know I'm done with the yellow shading. And put that up here. Now I'm going to go to red. Now, I'm not going to bother with trying to shade around these stars. That would be too much. I know that I'm going to outline these stars simply with a script liner, and that's going to be plenty. And in fact, I'm not going to outline all 3 of these in the video today, but I will outline this one in the video, and I'm going to outline this one as opposed to the other 2 because this one is the more difficult one. And that'll give you a really good plan if you choose to do something like, you know, if you choose to do this, you'll know what I did as far as the outline on the most difficult piece. The other 2 are not as difficult. And I say difficult, I don't know if that's the right word. It's just that there's more to it because you've got this decoration on your scarf is what I mean by difficult. It's just really more detail. And I do a couple of brush strokes like that. And I'm going to come in here with my paintbrush and I'm going to shade this Y. This is a pretty small brush, so I'm putting a lot of pressure on this brush to give me a decent sized brush stroke. And I'll probably do something like that and just do a brush stroke. I'll put this in the water because I'm done with that brush. I'm not done with that paint because I'm going to use that paint here in a minute. But I'm going to do this, y'all. I'm going to come up in here. I'm going to put a little bit of shading blue, beard blue. And I'm going to give his earmuffs something like this. Okay. Now this is a pretty big brush. It's a 3/4 inch brush. It might be a little bit too big, but I know that I want a lot of that beard blue color on there. If you don't want that much beard blue, then use a smaller brush. That's the main thing, y'all. It's really whatever size stroke you want as far as the size of the brush stroke. Do something like that. And then I would come over here. And I would come over here. I'll take that brush stroke up. And then I just kind of bring that brush stroke down. I'd probably do something like a few strokes here. I have something in my eye, y'all. All right. Almost done with this guy as far as shading. Actually just done with all three of them as far as shading. And then I'm going to outline this one. Notice I'm putting a pretty big rim of shading blue here, beard blue, because I like that. If you don't want something that big, then, and again, this is a 3/4 inch flat brush. So it's a fairly big brush that I'm using. And then I would come up here and just give it a couple of brush strokes. Yeah, I think that's good. Now, as far as outlining, let me put a lid on this. I'm going to outline this in 2 colors. And let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to outline, the beard blue is going to be outlined in your navy. Everything else is going to be outlined in black. Now, you could outline everything in black. It's totally fine. Don't have to use necessarily this navy. However, my look that I always like is I like the beard blue and the navy blue together. That's just me. You don't have to do it. You can do everything in black. All right. I forgot I do need to outline. This is why I said I was going to outline these stars. Let me find a really nice script liner that has not been worn to death. Okay. Good look. Yeah, exactly. So this is what a script liner looks like. It's kind of worn out, y'all. And this one's not. Okay, that'll give you an idea. This one that I'm going to use is what I'm going to use to outline those stars. This one I'm going to use to outline everything else because I want a wide line around everything on here, but I don't want a wide line on these stars. So I'm going to use this one for the stars. And I'm not going to put a lot of pressure. You could do black on these if you wanted to. I just like the idea and the look of what it's going to look like just doing the red. So you just kind of go into that CNC line and follow it. That's all I'm doing, outlining your star. If at first and I'm going to show you what this looks like, okay? So this is my first round of my star, okay? Not anywhere near perfect, but I'm fixing to come back and go over it again. Going to do the same thing again. And this time I'm just going to kind of focus on what I want to do is filling in and covering up anything that still needs to be covered up and filled in. That's all I'm doing. Takes a little bit of time, but it's so worth it when you outline stuff, because when you outline stuff, to me, that's when it really starts to look good. So I'll make one pass around. It won't be perfect, and then I'll make another pass going back and making it a little bit more perfect, if you will. So like right over here, I missed a little bit of that. I'm going to cover that up. And over here, I'm going to cover some of this up. And over there, I'll cover a little bit of that up. I'm going to get on this side of it, y'all. And I'll show this to you, a very close view here in a minute, so you can look at how those stars look. They're not perfect, but they're certainly really get the job done. And you've got the look that you want. You've got stars decorating your scarf. And that's what you're going for. And notice I don't try to put a whole lot of paint at one time because I know I'm making short strokes. Okay. If I know I need to make very short, thin strokes, I don't put a lot of paint on here at once. In a little bit, I'm fixing to put a lot of paint on here because I'm going to make long strokes and wide strokes. But right now, I'm not. And I'm going to show you where I made a little boo-boo so you can see, if you happen to do this, how I deal with that. Because it's not if you make a mistake, it's when. And I don't care how long you've been painting, that's the nature of it. Okay? So you are going to make a bobo or a mistake or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to show you this right here. I want you to see this. Notice that little part of that star that's got the red. I'm going to leave that alone right now. I'm going to deal with that later when I come back and I highlight. If that's dry, when I come back and highlight, I'm going to come back and put some white in there. I'm not going to deal with that right now because this piece is far too wet for that. If I try to deal with that issue right now, it's not going to do anything but make a mess. And I know that if you've ever painted, you probably have made a mess before. Why 2 times? So the first time, Debbie, I feel like I'm just trying to go around there and get a good definition. And then the second time, I'm just going to go in there and fill in what I think I missed the first time. I have better luck doing it twice as opposed to trying to hit it all at once. All right. And now this has a pretty wide stroke on it, and that's what I want. Okay. So I'm going to come in here. Of course, you've got your eyes, the little eyes that the CNC drew for you right here, or scored, whatever you want to call it. There we go. Something like that. I'm going to go ahead and lay that brush down somewhat and give me a pretty good stroke on this. See how this is thick? That's because I put a pretty good amount of pressure on there, y'all. There we go. Now I'm going to come in here. I'm leaving this alone right now because I'm going to come in there and hit that with some navy blue, y'all. There we go. All right. I'm going to come in here and start at the Y, doing this on this letter. And you can see now as I'm starting to put black here, how I'm starting to outline. It's starting to really take a shape and starting to look like, you know, something really pretty, which is what you want. This is kind of a worn out number 4 script liner. That's how I'm getting such a wide stroke on there without a lot of work. Okay, do that. I'm going to come here like that. I'm going to go over here. But the outline is what creates a border from one shape or color to the next, which is what gives it the definition. That's why it's really starting to look good when you get to the outline part. Something like that. Okay. My nose is itching, y'all. Somebody must be talking about me. Maybe they're saying good things. All right, so I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to kind of sit here and go back and forth with this brush. Back this way, come up, down, up, down. There we go. All right, and let's do the Y, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you what that navy blue is going to look like on the shading blue or beard blue. Here we go. Y'all get it. All right, so let's pick up. This is my number 6 navy blue, y'all. I'm washing out my little script liner that I was using with the black. And I'm going to come in here and put some navy blue. You can definitely do this in black. What I'm doing in black, you don't have to use the blue. I just like the blue though. So I'll always do that. That's the look I like. And I might do a couple of brush strokes like that while I have that brush in my hand. Just kind of do a few of them like that. All right, so let's go do the arm. Something like that. Here we go. And I got some red right here. And instead of messing with that, I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to kind of cover it a little bit with the blue. You'll never know the difference. So that's why I said a lot of times if I make a bobo or a boo-boo or a mistake, I don't worry about it at the moment. I'll come back and cover it when I have a script liner in my hand with some sort of color. And I'll kind of do a couple of brush strokes here like that. Oh, y'all, I just love this. I just love snowmen, though. They're so super cute. I'm going to put a pretty wide stroke of this outline navy blue color. Just because I like that look. You don't necessarily have to make it that large. You can, definitely make that stroke a lot smaller if you want. But my style is, y'all, I put a lot of paint on, and I put a lot of color on, and I put a lot of brush strokes on. All right. Now, I told you I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get this, hopefully, non-worn out script liner, okay? I'm going to get all the water out of it. And I'm going to, thank you so much. One of the girls here handed me a brand new brush that has not been messed up. Okay, so I've got some white, and this is, y'all know I'm going to do the highlights, right? This is a pretty watery, so I need to just stir it up a little bit. Okay, so I've got this fairly unused, well, really new script liner. I'm going to get up here in this little part. What I'm going to do is put just a little bit of paint on here. Just a little bit. I got to put paint on there, but I'm trying not to put too much. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of come in here and lay that brush down on top of that red paint. It's not going to make it perfect, but it certainly will be passable. Let me show you what that might look like up close. Oh, hold on. Yeah, it's that one. See, that's how you kind of do things like that. So if you make a, do you use the 3M edges on all of them? If I don't use MDO, which I use MDO all the time, but let's say you're not using MDO, Ava, then you can use the edge sealer. And the question is, do you use 3M edges on all wood products? I don't use this on MDO. But if you're not using MDO, let's say you're using a birch or a Baltic birch or a pine or an oak or a plywood of any sort, then yes, I would use this on the edges. Okay. So hopefully that answers the question. And that's because anytime, if anything is going to happen to this, it's always going to be the moisture coming in the edges. The moisture's not going to come in the face or the back. You got so much paint on there. But it's those plies that are glued together and the edges are exposed like that, and that's where the moisture will creep in. Okay. And I'm just going to take this brush and just do some brush strokes. Y'all know that Ashley and I are always fans of putting highlights on something. So that's just kind of what we do. If you don't like the highlights, certainly leave that off. I like them because it just makes things a little bit more brighter and a little bit more eye-catching, I think. Now, once this is dry, this is way too wet, I will take the tip of this brush and put a very little dot right there. I'm not going to do that right now because it is way too wet. Let's see. Something like that. Now, this is the point at which I think I'm done. So if you had any other bobos on here, let's say you messed up and you got some paint here that's not supposed to be here. This is the time that you would go ahead and cover that with your white paint. So kind of like I did up here. There was a bobo up here and I covered it right there. So hopefully, these tips are kind of helping you guys figure out, oh, how do you deal with those issues when you make a mistake? Because it's not if you make one, it's when. As my mom used to say, the only person who never makes a mistake is the person who does nothing. So as long as you're doing something, you'll probably make a mistake, but it's all good. I'm not going to outline the other two because I think it's pretty straightforward, on what to do with those. But definitely I will post this video onto our YouTube channel so y'all can find it there. I will post it on yardorderus.com where you bought the blank or the template on that listing. It'll be there. And of course, it'll be here on Facebook. Thank you guys for joining me so much. And thank y'all for letting me know my mic was messed up. Next time, y'all let me know earlier. Don't be afraid to tell me what's not happening is not right, because that's how we fix things. But Ashley will be on this week too. I'll be trying. I am going to, let me show y'all this. I am going to do a live on just the candy canes, the small ones. Okay. So if you are doing candy canes or you're thinking about doing candy canes, you want to do candy canes, here's what I did. I painted the backs, flipped them over, and I put 2 good coats of red on here. This will be a separate live. I'll come in and explain it later in detail about why I did it that way. But I'll be doing this one day this week. And then, of course, Ashley's doing some lives later on, too, this week. So thank y'all for joining me. I hope y'all have a good day, and we will see y'all soon. Bye.